News about the drought is everywhere. Ad campaigns dot the landscape, signs urging you to conserve water. We're letting our lawns go brown, tearing them out, now tearing out our hair. People are calling the authorities on neighbors who waste water. And my newest hobby is predicting what celebrity will be next publicly shamed by the LA Times for excessive water consumption. I hope it's Justin Bieber.
No.
The message is conserve, conserve, conserve. And if you don't, someday you'll turn on the tap and there won't be any more water.
But it is a bit more complicated than that. What isn't talked about, even if we conserved all our water in our cities in California, no watering, no showers, no drinking, nada, it really might not make a big impact. Robert, you can cue that graphic. Here's a breakdown of the water in the state of California. This comes from the Public Policy Institute of California, an independent think tank. 50% is used for the environment, to maintain streams and rivers. 40% is agricultural. That grows food, and it grows food for the food. So feed for cows. And 10% goes to urban use. That is all of your pools, showers, car washes, and sprinklers.
To understand that in a more human way, here's a demo using things more relatable to us here at 5 Live. Bobby has a beer glass. And
as usual.
A shot glass. And Bobby, I want you to just pour basically just a little more than half of that 12 ounces into that little tiny beer glass, and don't spill it.
Okay.
Talk about water.
Well, that's exactly how I hoped it would have gone. But yeah, so that's kind of an idea there. Out of the 12 ounces, a little bit less than full there is about 10% of the total water use. And joining me now, all of us, to comment on our visual storytelling and the expert behind all of this, Professor Ben Ruddle from Northern Arizona University. He researches and studies civil engineering and specializes in understanding water use. Ben, thanks for joining us. First of all, did we get that right? Is it really only around 10%?
Yeah, that's right. In the West, most of the water goes to farms and to the fish, and that's necessary because farms growing food in a desert uses a ton of water, right? So it is mostly the farms and the fish. Conservation is still important though, because every drop we save in the city is another cheeseburger or salad that we get to eat.
Yeah, I want to unpack that in a minute, but I think that the thing that really struck me when I started trying to understand all of this is that a lot of that research, though, and the facts don't really support the messaging from the state. The idea is from the state, it says it's on the cities only. Maybe you can't answer this, but why do you think that is?
I think it's important for everybody to have a sense of responsibility for this. I think that's the intent behind the message campaigns. Ultimately, it is people in LA, really more than anyone else in the Western U.S., because it's the biggest city, who eat that food and who benefit from having those rivers there. And so it is a team effort, and it's a big system. And we really can't solve problems outside of the cities without the money and the support and also the votes behind the policies that come from city dwellers. So it really is important we're all connected on this thing to the rivers.
And of the food that we eat here in the cities, how much of our water goes to that agriculture? Because I know avocados and almonds have a bad rap right now, but what is that feeding? What water is going to cow feed, for example?
Yeah, so most of the water in the West gets used by farms that comes out of the river. That's to grow food in a desert, right? Sunny desert needs a lot of water. The majority or the biggest part of that farm water goes to grow grass and alfalfa, hay, in other words. And hay gets fed to cattle. So your dairy cows, your cheese, your milk, and also especially your beef for your cheeseburger or your steak, that cattle feed and that alfalfa goes there. So when we did a study on this, we found that the biggest issue, the biggest single place where you can save water in the West for this crisis, it's really concentrated in that cattle feed.
So a lot of that cattle feed, I know some of that obviously goes to the cows in California, but it also goes overseas. Some people say the way to fix this is to stop eating meat so the cows won't need to eat. But I watched another interview and you said your favorite food is a cheeseburger, double all the way, baby. But you say getting rid of cows isn't necessary. There might be a more realistic solution to this.
Yeah, so also, even if we all stopped eating beef, like if LA stopped eating beef, the rest of the world wouldn't. So actually wouldn't solve the problem. What you need to do is reduce the water use for that cattle feed. And the way to do that is to fallow some of those crops during the dry years, right? You don't have to do it forever, but during dry years, if you grow less of that hay, it saves a lot of water really fast, and it also saves it pretty affordably. And you can feed cows other things, right? You can get your beef from the Midwest. You can also feed Western cows other types of feed, like Midwestern corn. So
Andy's all about that.
Yeah, I'm 80% Midwestern corn, actually.
I had a question about, you mentioned how we should vote and we should pay attention to what to vote for. I know this is probably going to throw you. Is there anything on the ballot right now in California that we should be looking for in November? I know we have a lot of props. Anything? I know you're an NAU. You're a lumberjack up there. Anything that we should know here in California or we can vote on here in California?
I don't think it's on the ballot yet, but if the issue of supporting fallowing programs comes up on the ballot, that's where people in the city help fund programs that keep farm towns alive and keep them in business while they're not growing hay or food during a dry year. Yeah, I would support that. I think it's a great policy and a great kind of program. If we don't support those farm towns in dry years, then they won't be there. They're going to dry up and blow away, and they won't be there when we need them over the long term.
I think the main thing, and I'm glad that we're talking, because when I learned that it was only 10% of all of the water usage that we have goes to the states in California, or I'm sorry, the city in California, it felt discouraging, because it feels like I said, there's a lot of public shaming and there's a lot of pressure to try to get people to change the way that they live their lives. And I guess I wonder, do the states ask farmers to conserve life like us? Or when we talk about environmental usage of the water, which makes up 50% of that water, I know a lot of that goes to the streams and rivers in Northern California. That we can't not do that, or do we do that as well? I mean, what's like the long-term solution to this if the fallowing doesn't work?
Yeah, good question. I think it will work because fallowing is like a shock absorber in the system. If you have it there, then there's some pressure to adjust behavior and to stop using more water that gets put on the system, but you still have some flexibility. I really am positive on fallowing programs. Federal law, Endangered Species Act, but also just common sense, I think, says that we need to leave some water in the rivers so that we can have the fish and the ecosystem still thrive. That's absolutely critical for biodiversity and for our environment. But to your first question, are farmers taking cuts? Yes, they are. They're taking a lot of cuts right now. And Arizona is taking the first layer, but the cuts are going to spread to farmers in California soon. Arizona farmers have already lost about 20% of their Colorado River water, and that number is increasing quickly. So that means less lettuce, and it means more expensive salads and burgers, and that's already happening. But California has more senior water rights than Arizona does on the Colorado River, and that means that the pain for California farmers, especially in the Imperial Valley, is going to kick in a year or two. It's not happening just yet.
So let me ask, can I ask you this? Lots of these ranchers and farmers do work very closely with scientists and people with PhDs like yourself to get advice on how to conserve water and how to treat their land properly. So aren't they like ahead of the curve in this regard? Aren't they already attempting to conserve as much water as they possibly can? And to do so further, like you said, will only lead to more price increases, which consumers overall would not be happy with?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Most farmers, and in particular, the big farmers, the big business in Southern California, the Imperial Valley, Central Valley, also Southern Arizona, they're pretty sophisticated. They are very efficient already with how they use water. Some of them could do better, but many of those methods are pretty advanced already. And that's a problem for conserving, because it's not as easy as just getting more efficient if you're a farmer. At this point, if we're going to make large cuts to water use on farms, it's going to mean reduced production, and less production means food prices will go up a little bit, just a little though, maybe not a ton, because there are other sources of cattle feed and salad in the world.
I had a question about the world. Recently, Governor Newsom vetoed a bill that would have made it illegal, I guess, for foreign entities to come in and buy farmland in the state of California. Right now, only about 2.7% is owned by foreign entities, but do you think that there should be a closer look at other countries coming in and buying farmland in California when we're already struggling to water and feed and keep, like Robert was saying, costs down for consumers?
Yeah, that's a matter of opinion. I respect the governor's policy decisions on that, so that's a sort of a politically neutral answer. As a scientist, I'm supposed to be all about the facts, and that's really a policy decision.
Gotcha.
But I can confirm that we send around 10%, or maybe even a little more in some cases, of that hay and alfalfa overseas. We've had a lot of Middle Eastern companies that have been buying farms and farmland in the Southwest and have been using it to ship hay to the Middle East. That's right. They're filling containers with dried grass, sending it across the Pacific Ocean to Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and places like that to feed their cattle. The reason they're doing that is because they already used all their groundwater. They pumped out all their groundwater in many places. And they now have a policy of their own there that says they're not allowed to use that water to grow their own cattle feed anymore.
Wow.
So they are using ours. That might be where we end up in a decade or two, because that is where they ended up, right?
That's fascinating, yeah.
So more reason to solve the problem, because you can see where it's going if we don't figure out a sustainable solution and a way to manage this.
Well, hopefully we are able to figure it
I was
out.
going to say, since you're in Arizona, are you going down to the Biodome too anytime soon to
Yeah.
take stock of what we should be doing?
I love Biosphere too. I've been
Biosphere, that's what it is.
Biosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we'll have to come check that out with you. Until then, if we run out of water, Bobby, at least we have beer.
I know. Can I drink this now?
Go ahead. Ben, doctor, professor, thank you so much for being here, part of the show. If we want to find more about what your research is saying and what research that you're doing, where can people look you up?
Yeah, look me up at Northern Arizona University, and our project has a website. It's called fusion.us, FEWSION.us. And there's a tool on there that lets everybody in the country see where they get their food from and how much water it takes. So you could map where that salad and beef comes from as an LA resident, and give me a call or an email if you have any questions about that.
Dr. Ben Ruddle, thank you so much for being here.